Hey guys, under Hodge, 7 of Truth or Infinite Potential Healing here once again. Thank you for finding me. If you've gained something from the previous offerings in this multidimensional method to the 3D madness theme that I've been working on, then fantastic. My intent behind them is to offer the components that really accelerated me that I haven't found anywhere else, and perhaps for a long time I assumed that a lot of people had them, and I realized that there's a bit of a gap. So that's behind my effort here. I'm wanting to work and be a beacon for the best of the best out there. So perhaps if more galactic special forces level work is brewing, and I definitely feel it, who knows who's going to be involved in that, okay? Because sometimes it feels like herding multidimensional super psychic cats that just looking to fall out and all that sort of stuff over trivial things. And I sort of held the group together over the years and stuff like that, and it is what it is, and we each do our own thing. We're here to do what we're here to do, and hopefully be able to achieve what we originally pre-incarnated choose to be here for. The 3D is very, very interesting. If you've ever watched the movie 12 Monkeys with Bruce Willis, it was fascinating because like when the operatives would go back through time, they would love the reality so much and get caught up in it, and things wouldn't happen. So 3D is a fascinating place. The way I see it is there's this longing for being out there in space or having a vast level of perceptions and stuff like that. I'm very appreciative of the absence of awareness, because it feels like awareness on the soul level is the norm out in the universe, and having a experience in an unawareness realm is actually a very unique and rare experience. So the discovery process of regaining awareness in a realm that is designed not to be is an enormous achievement on the soul level from my perspective. So that's where I appreciate what everyone's going through and stuff, and I still choose to navigate me through it all. Alright, so I have a lot of other videos I want to do. I scatter and jump around and bits like that because I'm offering puzzle pieces from my perspective of creating the algorithm for perception. I'll just show you a diagram that I drew to represent sort of the algorithm of perception and what I'm trying to offer relative to my teachings. I'll just grab it. So if you look at this diagram, what I've sort of done is drawn a bit of a multidimensional dot to dot, right? So all the little dots are information variables that you employ to form an algorithm to perhaps organically perceive variables that you haven't gained information for. That's the way I work. I sort of have this ever-present cache of all the variables in my cellular memory of all the data I've absorbed to actually operate this way, and there's potentially infinite variables that I don't know and stuff like that, but what you can do is you can sort of triangulate the truth and perceive your own organic perceptions about things. What I've learned over the last few years is if I default my perceptions to others and sort of go submissive in my own perception because I think there's perception authorities out there, they can leave you vulnerable. And honestly, when you do this level, the grid work and the galactic special forces, you can't be codependent on any externals. So this is just muscle training, psychic muscle training, and you can see the arrow from the individual at the bottom. It feels, to me, it feels like the least resistance of what bubbles up, what reveals itself in the equation that has an unanswered information dot. Alright, so all the videos I'm doing are multi-layered, multi-component, downloads of all my codes and all that sort of stuff, and I'm offering them there to assist whoever finds my stuff to accelerate their development ASAP, to be up to speed for whatever they're meant to be. I'm not looking for you to be codependent on me, and if you do, I'll probably be like a sensei and hit you in the guts in love, because you're vulnerable, alright? If you default your perception to others and you lack the security and trust in yourself, if you do good work, you might have the ancestors around you guiding you and stuff like that. I don't really have a perception of it. I just go in the flow and trust what I get with my perceptions is what is required, because I have done all the clearance and all that sort of stuff. I've been very vigilant on the healing. Getting on people's table is number one, alright? If you have doubts and stuff and you have uncertainty and you're feeling off and you're emotionally unstable and you think you want to blame others for it, explore that. Play the victim and all that sort of stuff, but what I'm suggesting is there are all reasons to get on people's tables and heal, alright? So have the courage to take responsibility for your state first, and then go from there. If you are feeling I've got issues and all that sort of stuff by tuning into me, because I'm working at a very high level, I'm being very open and transparent about me and my journey, so you can discern me, so be it. I welcome that. If you need to disregard me as a teacher, all that, but have the courage to actually maybe accept what you're feeling relative to me is your subconscious, because you're in my field and the areas that you need to work on. Take that level of responsibility about yourself. Take what you're getting in these as the things you need to work on, alright? I welcome your projection. You can't do anything bad to me, alright? If you're here, you're absolutely at a very high level and stuff, so have the courage to see everything you feel is your stuff that you're not willing to face, alright? And then see what's on the other side. So this video I'm going to call the Trinity of Choice. Choices in any moment, okay? Because what we may feel, alright, and what doesn't seem obvious is, instead of two options in most things, go up, down, left, right, backwards, forwards, positive, negative, all that. What I found through my currency trading was there's actually a very significant other variable that most people don't recognize and empower, and that's doing nothing, alright? So say going forward, going backwards, or staying stationary. Like, you imagine you're about to cross the road, okay? You don't just go to the road and go forward and back. You look around and make sure the coast is clear, and when it is clear, then you move forward. So what I found in currency trading is a lot of the time there was no trade, okay? Because if you went in a trade, you thought you'd go long on the US dollar versus the Aussie dollar, or short, the Swiss franc versus the US dollar and stuff like that. There was going long, going short, alright? And going short, usually when things go bad really quick. So there's a lot of money to be made. So I was looking to get short a lot. But, any moment you're in a moment of decision, right? Do I go long or do I go short? Sometimes inaction is the appropriate option, right? So this is all about helping you identify that inaction is a very powerful option and choice to be employed at times. Sometimes inaction is an excuse as well, right? Now, if you know something's being done wrong, or it's criminal activity or whatever like that, or personal gain, not acting creates benefit for you, and people seek to do that, right? People consciously choose not to act, like say if someone's in trouble and stuff like that, if people are in crises, you get entangled with their stuff, right? And trust me, I'm going to talk about crises at another point, because it's interesting what you do. You might solve the crisis and then you get shafted at the end and stuff like that, and people don't give a crap. So I'm calling it the Trinity of Choices, in any moment, because inaction and like stillness is a very viable option to recognize. So what I'm going to do is just show you some images relative to that. So the first, I'm going to show you the options, and based on that, okay. So this is just an example of the trinity of choices in any moment, okay. So there's one arrow that goes up, there's one that goes down with a choice, and then there's the middle one that I'm suggesting is inaction, right? So I've put the positive and negative as the positive consequences of your actions, and the negative cost and consequence, all right? And all those dots on the side here are the data points of previous actions and choices, all right? So while I'm saying positive and negative is, say if you're working in a spiritual level and you're a teacher and all that sort of stuff, or you're say a member of a corporation that has a big effect on the world and stuff, you might do something that has a positive impact to the world or the market, all right? And you might have a negative outcome as well. Say specifically focusing on the world and finances and stuff, in the early 2000s there was a really phenomenal documentary called The Corporation, and it's getting into corporate business practices and things like that, and it's looking at the narcissistic side of businesses and all that sort of stuff. So if you're trying to understand the world and why things happen the way they do, it's a really good entry point, because there's a section in it that talks about corporations consciously choosing to do crimes that have an enormous positive cash flow benefit, but a very negative outcome for society, all right? So, and then just over this weekend I saw a really awesome documentary called The Crime of the Century, and it's all about the opioid crisis in America and like the families and pharmaceutical corporations involved with that. It's really phenomenal, all right? Like opium trade has been something going on through the centuries and stuff like that. This is just a modern iteration, but also the drugs are very haunted and compromising to the energy bodies of people, and then the entities can get harvest people and all that sort of stuff. So look at it in the 3D and the money sense, look at it the karma consequence, and look at it the conscious choice points that people make, all right? So the trinity of choices that we all have at any moment, all right? Don't think that just because there's outcomes people are naive to it. A lot of people consciously choose that, all right? So that's the first option. So let's just focus on your choices and your actions and mine and stuff like that. And I'll focus on trading, okay? So I'll go back to an image that describes the market, all right? I'm using the market as a metaphor of the ups and downs in life and stuff, because everything is life force related. Money is an encapsulation technology of life force, all right? People do it to gain and stuff like that. So this is just like the market, ups and downs and all that. So like I said, sometimes there's where do you enter, where do you sell, where do you do nothing and stuff like that. You have to sort of interpret it based on experience and variables of indicators that you employ in combination to identify the trade. Same thing in life, alright? So that's just the bear market sort of thing. Life's ups and downs, alright? So this is what I've employed for the contrarian view, okay? So it's about entry points and stuff and changes and perceptions and all that sort of stuff. So the herd usually goes the wrong way at the worst time. The trader or truth is usually, maybe conspiracy theorists and all that. They're perceiving the reality and stuff when the herd is going the wrong way. You know what I mean? So it's about going long or going short. So see the first trade over here, it's going down when everyone's going up. So you're going short, right? So the bottom one is going long when everyone else is going short, right? So sometimes you have to wait for the trade to play out, so there's inaction being employed, alright? So that's the second one. So this is the image I use for our lives, the ups and downs and stuff like that. Right? This is the algorithm of our life and choice points. We might make good choices and bad choices that have outcomes and variables of data that we didn't know were there that have impacts and stuff. But then there's also compromise and influence. If you're a powerful being that's got missions to do down over this side, yeah, you can have variables and making choices, and those choices have outcomes that, have negative impact. You can be in a position of power that have negative impact on others around you that prevents stuff, alright? If you have high level of perception and you know what's going on, then you can't really play dumb, alright? Okay, understand that. So I'll show you the next drawing, alright? So I showed you this first, alright? So this is the Trinity of choices in any moment, alright? So now I'm going to show you the next one on that I build on that, alright? So then, alright, the Trinity of choices in any moment has the three choices in it as well, alright? So, and they spawn off and spawn off and spawn off, right? So, imagine this is karma and consequence on your actions, alright? So you're involved with people and stuff, and you do a very positive thing on yourself that has a consequence on others, alright? Or in my instance, and I'll use this, my personal trading experience, alright, is the stuff over here, alright? This is important and in your choice. Just imagine you've had previous experiences and they've had negative outcomes for you, alright? So previous data can influence your present state of being, right? So if you've been in a relationship and you've been raped and stuff, or you've been abused, which I've been, alright, when I was in Sydney, emotional abuse and just wearing you down and trauma and all that sort of stuff. If you haven't cleared that, that's baggage, right? And that can influence your choices, right? So if I go specifically with my trading year-end days, okay, I remember one instance where I was under a lot of pressure to make money to pay my debts and stuff, because I only had about $10,000 and I had to pay about $2,000 every month just in bank debt and stuff. And I did that for many, many years, but it was really, financial life and death every moment. So I had a lot of pressure on me. And I've described in the past that my trading was basically a very intense training to get me to recognize my gut and all that. And much of my healing comes from that era. And this is a really powerful ally and tool that I learned, okay? So imagine I went through, I reckon it was about 7 significant trades where I thought I was right on the money. And I'm not going to talk about whether I went long or short, but I'm talking about the positive or negative impact of an outcome. So if a trade is successful, I make money. If a trade is unsuccessful, I lost money, which added to my pressure and intensity of the debt. Right? I remember at one time there was 7 trades in a row that I lost. All right. So you imagine the baggage, a past experience. So I've got that arrow that comes in that influences my present trade. So if I lost the money, it meant if I lost $250 in a trade and I had $2,000 to make, then I had to make $2,250 on top of and make the money back and stuff. So that added pressure, all right? And the thing is, the confidence thing, you hesitate, you doubt, you miss trades and stuff, and you watch them go by because you are scared and you do inaction, all right? You miss trades because you're choosing inaction, all right? And so then it compounds and the pressure builds and the time is running out and all those sort of variables, and you bring all those variables in that aren't applicable, that add complexity to the moment, all right? So what I did, I went through 7 trades, and what I eventually realized is, holy crap, I'm bringing all the past trauma into every moment, adding to the complexity. And what you have to do is you have to splice what has happened in the past and separate it from any moment, all right? and I've been a really avid supporter of the documentary series The Last Dance, alright? And in the very last episode at the start of it, there was a guy describing Michael of being basically a mystic, living in the moment, right? And he made a comment of, like, Michael would think it's crazy, basically, if you, before you have any shot, you think about missing. You imagine, you just think about that, like many things in life, you have an outcome preconception of the potential of something which isn't potentially relative. We all do it, and I know I've done it myself, but it's really poetic the way he said it, that why would you think about missing a shot you've never taken, alright? Keeping it very simple, alright? So yeah, I learnt this sort of concept of the baggage, what I bring into any trade, and you know, it's very powerful of any interaction you have in any moment. You know, all the recordings I've done and stuff like that, it doesn't matter what happens. When I was in the moment, I was there 100% focused on that topic, and everything else outside of it is irrelevant, alright? But then it's about pulling the data in that's relevant, alright? So you have to be able to, if I go back to the other drawing about the algorithm, so if you go back to that, what I eventually did with my trading is I recognized the variables I needed to employ, the components into the algorithm, and what I didn't need to employ. And that's why I call things and experiences data, right? Because once you splice the emotional baggage component, the perceptions become very, very efficient and clear. And it's not something you'll learn overnight. You have to be able to simultaneously measure all the variables, and sometimes you need to drop them, they're not relevant and stuff, but we all have the ability to do this. It's just a matter of discipline and effort and exercise and training the muscles of perception. A lot of us, if you're here, you probably do all this stuff innately and you haven't really identified it, but the reason why I'm doing this is when you actually identify your skills and talents, you can actually enhance them and develop them into being a beefcake of perception, alright? Yeah, so this is some simple diagrammic mechanics of perception and choice points, and recognizing the power of inaction, alright? The other thing is recognizing inaction in others around you, alright? Because this is the difference between followers and leaders, alright? Because what happens is if you see a gap that other people seemingly obviously don't see, or they're deliberately avoiding, people talk about level of responsibility, of level of awareness, alright? Perhaps you are the elder and the leader and doing the right thing in the wrong moment. You know, if I go back to the other drawing, this is the infinite potential. Doing the wrong thing, seemingly wrong thing at the right moment, might be your next level up, like I've described about what I did with my ex when she was suicidal. I had to choose to do the right thing by her, thing by me relative to money. And what I'm going to do is show you the way I see greed versus empathy. There's an equation relative to that, alright? So this is what I see as greed versus empathy, alright? So greed has a monetary gain, alright? And empathy has a cost. The way I see money is it's an encapsulation technology of life force. It's not water. It's like the maritime admiralty law, if you've ever watched Jordan Maxwell and stuff. To me, the currency is life force energy. This is what empowers the false grid and stuff like that, alright? So empathy is investing your life force into something external to you, alright? So the reason why I'm drawing it down here is that there's a cost to your life force. The horizontal line is your life force, or life force content that you are in control of. And what happens is, when you gain financially, despite there being trillions of dollars out there, there's a finite amount. You have to get it from somewhere else, alright? And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But what I'm saying is, if you do something that has a deliberate cost on another, they pay, right? So say our life isn't free in the 3D. We have to pay rent, board, food, and all sorts of things like that, okay? Just recognize when you choose to consciously empathize into another situation and get involved with them, crisis and stuff, there's a life force cost, right? Focus. You've got to gain that life force from your own nourishment, your own repair, your own cultivation and stuff like that. And people know what they're doing, right? They play dumb, alright? If I go back to the choice points, if people knowingly are looking to personally gain, see the positive up the top is a choice of using people for personal gain, then there's a negative cost and consequence on something else. So say, for instance, if I do stuff and I don't get the financial benefit from what I do and create, then there's a negative cost on missions, alright? They're prevented, okay? For instance, most people don't own up to it. They play inaction, they play dumb, alright? That's what criminality is. It's playing dumb, least amount of effort for the greatest personal gain, and not caring about the cost on another or the impact of the potential that was meant to have, okay? So just realize that in your choice points in any moment. Think about all the options and all the impacts and all the costs, alright? And I mean, that's what I always do. I see the potential, infinite potential, and I invest my energy, and I don't do it, with a agenda for personal gain. I will gain if it's good enough, alright? If I'm good enough, I'll be a match to that, and I'll show you an expansion of that greed versus empathy chart, alright? See, this is the next level, alright? This is signature frequency match. I'll use those linguistics as teachings, alright? So this is, say, a potential audience out there, and I'm calling them super psychics, alright? And if you do something that has a cost on another because you play inaction relative to money and stuff that had potentials but you sought personal gain, then what you're doing, your frequency won't be a match to the higher level beings out there, alright? And why I'm doing what I'm doing is I'm not really wanting to be involved with anyone now, alright? I'm doing my own thing, and if I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. But say if you think, you go through choice points and there's a consequence, maybe there's a benefit that you don't know, and that's working with the unseen. So the way I see myself is I'm trying to be a match, and I keep working on myself and doing clearings and all that sort of stuff to a level of audience out there that are sort of potentially waiting for the coast is clear and finding someone that they can work with. I feel I've got infinite in me to improve and stuff and be a better teacher and all that sort of stuff, and I'm using me as an example for you to tune in, alright? But what I know is that because I've got the framework of understanding the reality and the experience and holding the energy and stuff, I'm looking for that level of galactic special forces operative that are out there that maybe haven't found a match for where they're at. And I'll be honest, there's a lot of people out there that are so advanced, there's no point for them stepping up because it isn't their time and stuff like that. But so just think about this in all your actions. Do you want to play the short-term gain monetarily or the long-term game over things like someone that needed you to do something 5 years ago and do the right thing that opened up a choice point for them to find you? So if I go back to the other the Trinity of choices image, say maybe for me I had a negative outcome by the choice I had with that ex-girlfriend. It totally destroyed my financial potential and stuff like that. But if I didn't do that, it wouldn't have unlocked the potentials further down the track, right? But also what I said about the Danny and Brinkley in the soul level of appreciation video, how what I realized is I could integrate that teaching into my life of the consequence of my actions in any moment, because I don't want to face it in a life review, all right? The consequence of what happens. The negative experience had a very positive outcome for my life and was foundational for me to being up to the level of what I've done and what I share and what I've been involved in. And I've been increasing the level of transparency in these videos so you can totally discern me and pick me apart, alright? You can tune into me or whatever, alright? So if I go back to the other diagram, I also know, alright, if I did something that has a negative outcome on others, it's not about realizing potential of the greater of all the algorithm I'm in. What will happen to me is I know this, alright? I'll show you another diagram. I know if I do something that has a negative outcome to others, it's like a crack of a dam in my defense, right? So that's where integrity is your defense, alright? If you know you've done the right thing, no matter what the world sees it and stuff like that, it will be the unseen ally to your psychic defense, alright? Because I can tell. You know, I watched the movie, I used to grow up on the movie Excalibur, right? And there's a comment he makes to Arthur about lying. You know, when you lie, you murder some part of the world. And the metaphor of that movie was Arthur and the land were one. We were a fractal of each other. So when you lie, and you do deceitful stuff, and it has a negative impact on your body. For instance, I know when you speak the truth, it's very empowering and defensive for your throat chakra, alright? When people don't speak the truth, and I know this is a metaphor, you know, very powerful women, they feel that their voice isn't worthy of being spoken, so they suppress their perceptions because they're too worried about the consequence or the blowback of speaking their truth. And so a lot of women can actually have thyroid issues because they're suppressing their perceptions. And yeah, it's for a lot of people it's actually really hard to speak the truth, right? But I just want you to really recognize that in your defense and all this sort of stuff, because I wouldn't have been here or being able to do what I've done and shared unless I had these sort of foundational components and understanding of the reality, right? So, not wanting this to be a very long video and stuff, but I hope you realize and recognize that inaction is a very powerful ally. It's also a very powerful self-service tool and stuff like that. You know, not doing stuff when stuff is meant to be done. You know, you're making a choice and other people are making a choice. It's a trinity of choices, and it can be an ally. Like, say if you're really tired and fatigued, you know, maybe you're planning to go out and meet friends and stuff like that, alright? And your energy is low and things like that. A lot of people just will push through and compromise themselves for the expectation of others and stuff. And what I'm sort of saying is, honor yourself, alright? Honor any moment how you feel. You may not feel up to it, and it may be your guidance giving you a shutdown to defend yourself with something you don't know is going to happen, but it already has happened, okay? So if I go back to another drawing relative to the perception and predictability, this one I've used many times. Maybe you're contemplating a trinity of choices in any moment, and for whatever reason you just feel shut down and things like that. That can be your higher level and allies or instincts of perceiving through time that there's going to be consequence, alright? So these are very subtle energies, and the key is about valuing and honoring yourself, because honestly, very few people will proactively value you. a lot of people will see you as what they see you, or a platform as well, and they won't give a shit, right? And it's not bad or anything, it's just that if I go back to the algorithm of perception, to be able to do this requires a lot of life force and measuring a lot of variables at the same time. And I'm compassionate about humanity because they're, like I've said, just as a ballpark, maybe they're working on 30 or 40% of energy and life force. They don't have the ability to engage this higher level function because they're struggling in life and stuff. And you have to really accept that maybe you're the only one that can do this. Maybe this is so obvious and you don't get why others can't. It's because you're a peerless peer in your region. You're an extreme talented being, and like I said, awareness in an unawareness realm is such a rare and privileged thing. Don't give it away. Don't expect others to do it. They've got to earn it for themselves. It's a privilege. It's not a right. Okay? So I hope this helps. I hope this is very empowering for you. Know when to employ it. The Trinity of choices in any moment. It's been a big ally to me. I've had to decompress and deprogram and not put so much weight into the expectation and pleasing others and stuff like that. Also recognize it in others, right? People who should know better should operate with that. But you also be compassionate and empathic and invest in finding out what's going on the other side. Maybe they're and everyone is battling at the moment, right? But maybe they've got an agenda, okay? And the other thing is, if I go back to the choice point diagram, maybe they've got a vested interest, right? A personal gain agenda, right? So maybe they're sensing money or whatever that they can gain, and they have a feel of your pattern that you won't stand up and stuff like that and do something unexpected. So vested interest of what their baggage they bring in, which is their agenda. When you are non-agenda and stuff, you can perceive it, right? You can smell something's off, and the pattern that is before you doesn't add up relative to the past. And greed is a very powerful aphrodisiac for self-gain, right? So be on the ball. So once again, I hope this has helped. I hope you see it as a powerful ally in the algorithm of all the data I'm offering and stuff. To me, it was a very, very powerful ally to realize inaction is a conscious choice, and to witness it and see what people do and justify around them. So just getting back, just to do offering what I sort of see at the moment. There's a bit of a fracturing in the reality, and there's a escalation of many unique outcome common with it relative to control. I'm sort of seeing there must be a fracturing of the false grid in certain respects, so the military sort of stuff is amping up. Very interesting about the England, France and Jersey Island, there's a bit of conflict over there. There's obviously Israel bombing Gaza again, and the trade sort of China, US, Australia sort of thing going on, where previous allies are sort of conflicting, right? And that conflict is an energy and a trauma that's justifying locking down the grid. And so, for instance, the South China Sea, there must be a lot of energy bobbling up there and stuff, because there's a lot of Navy ships doing their pass-throughs and posturing and all that, which is just, to me, it's just grid work and stuff like that. So, been dreaming a lot. My last couple months, I've actually shifted my diet. I've done 2 colonics and had a lot of clear out and a lot of clearing the crap of the last 3 years since I've done colonics. I've started going to the gym twice a day when I can. I'm trying to push myself and raise the bar in me. Feeling very, very strong. And I'm priming myself for whatever I'm a part of. And like I said, the match of people and stuff, I thank those people that have had the courage to reach out to me and stuff. Some amazing people out there, and I know there's more, and anytime you do, it's like a very massive boost for me. So I thank you for that, and anyone that gains anything from this, and my teachings, and can discern all the crap that's going on around me and stuff, I thank you. And I've got a lot more videos to offer, and I want to do the incarnation more, the framework of that. I want to do victims, false victims, society rewards victims. I want to do the cellular memory. Also worked out one about decompressing after enduring hardship, which will be a really good one, because what I've talked about, my story, is for you to discern and be transparent and all of that sort of stuff, right? So thank you. Yes, I hope you gain something from it, and hang in there, guys. We're too good, you know. Appreciate the unawareness reality that we're masters of. All right. Until next time. Cheers.